Hi grade 2. Today we have our visual journal assignment and it has two parts. We're going to start off with a science experiment and then that's going to be what we visual journal about. So I'm going to start off by showing you guys what supplies you need, and then I want you to follow along and try to perform the experiment at your house as well, and then stick around for the drawing part so we can do the visual journal assignment afterwards. So let's see what we need. All right, so for today's experiment, we're going to be talking about floating and sinking. So our new science unit is all about buoyancy, which is the ability to float in water. So we're going to do a really fun experiment, and here's what you're going to need. You're going to need a container with a good amount of water in it. So if you don't have something this big, that's fine. Maybe just like a Tupperware, but you're going to need a good amount of water in it. And then you're just going to need to grab, like, I'd say 10 different things from around your house that you would like to test. So this is just an experiment after all, which means we're testing to see, will it float or will it sink? So the first thing we need to know is that the definition of floating means that it's going to stay on top of the water. And sinking means it's going to be going down to the bottom. So as with everything, we always make a prediction first. So you're not going to have the same things that I'm going to have. So I want you to pause the video now, get your items ready, and come back when you are set up just like this. Okay, so here we go. The first object we have here is a plastic container. And so let's test it out. So you can see it is floating. If I push it down and try to make it stay, it comes right back up. Let me see if I can show you guys that a little better. Okay, so that's our first test. So that's a float. So we're going to put them in two different piles. This is the floating pile. All right, I'm going to have a plastic toy dinosaur here. Let's see. Oh, that one actually surprised me. So this guy actually floated. So if I push him down and try to hold him there, he comes back up. So that's also a float. All right, let's try this metal spoon. Okay, so that one's a sink. You can see it's way down here at the bottom. If I do it again, that's a sinker. Put it down here. Okay, this wooden block. So that one is a floater. Interesting. Put that in the float pile. This is left over from Easter. It's not a real egg, it's like a plasticky kind of egg. And that one didn't surprise me at all. I thought that one would float, and it did. And I have my sunglasses. That one is a surprise. It feels very plastic, which makes me think it would float, but they actually sink down to the bottom, which is why you never want to drop your sunglasses in the lake. And we have a plastic fork. And if I try to hold it down, it doesn't stay, which means it's a floater. And I have here a coin. And that one sunk really quickly. And let's see, I have also something made of glass. So this is a glass lid. And that one sunk really quickly. All right, well, that's all that I have tested. I want to hear what you guys tested as well and how it went. And then, of course, as scientists, we have to compare our results. So we have here the things that floated, and we have here the things that sunk. So I wonder if you can come up with a rule to say why something will float or sink. You can see it's not related to size because we have big things and small things here, and we have big things and small things here. So if it's not about size, what does it have to do? How can you tell when something will float and when something will sink? I want you guys to try and come up with a rule. So after you're done your experiment, you can get your visual journal supplies ready. All right, so here is what you're going to need for your visual journal today. When you picked up your school supplies from home, you should have grabbed your black visual journal. And I know you guys are probably needing paper at home, and there is lots of paper in here, but try to make sure you at least leave a good bunch of blank pages, since this will be our visual journal space. So you're going to need that. You're going to need a pencil and a sharpener if you like keeping it sharp. I would really recommend a ruler and then all of your coloring supplies. So you can absolutely be using pencil, crayons, markers, crayons, whatever works for you guys. So this page is going to be about our science experiment. So what we're going to do is draw a tank in the middle, and then we're going to say float on top and sink, and we're going to list and draw the things that floated or sunk in our experiment. So I would recommend following along with me, pausing if I get too much ahead of you, and then we can do this drawing together. So the first thing we're going to do is split our page into 3 spots. So we want the top part to be about floating. So we're just going to do, oh my goodness, I forgot to remind you guys of the rules of visual journals. So remember, the first rule is draw light until you know it's right. So we're pushing very lightly with our pencil until we're sure that that's what we want to keep it as. Okay, the second rule is always add a splash of color. So every page should have at least some color added to it. This helps just enhance the beauty of that page. And the last rule is to embrace the space. So we want to try and use all of the page that we have. So we're trying, even if it's adding background or adding just different, like I added a cloud here. With every page, we're going to try to fill it up. So back to our drawing. So I've drawn a line across the first third of the page, and then I want the section in the middle to be a bit bigger. So I'm going to draw the line at the bottom really lightly. So that's kind of how I want to split up my page. Now I'm going to draw a tank inside of here. So we're going to draw a 3D shape of a rectangular prism. So really easy if you just follow along. So we're going to make a nice straight line along the bottom. And then we're going to make that same straight line along the top. Okay, now we're going to connect it on the side. And this is why we draw lightly, because look, I went over a little bit. Easy to just erase it. And we're going to connect it here. Okay, so this is obviously a rectangle, and to turn this into a 3D shape, we're going to have to show that it has depth. So the way that we do that is by making it go back. So we're going to draw the tank here and then here. So you're just adding those lines. Then we're going to connect them down. Again, I went over a little bit, not a problem. And then we have to keep that same angle. So all you can do, just get your ruler on the line you have here. Oops. And bring it over here. And we can go out. And we're almost at the top of our line, so you could, let's just extend it a little bit, and we'll call that the top line. So can you see how this now is no longer just a rectangle, but it's a 3D shape, and it has dimension. Okay, so I'm going to erase this part of the line because we don't want any extra there. We don't want any extra here. And the tank I'm going to leave on that bottom line so that it doesn't look like it's floating. So there you go. You've just created a 3D object, a rectangular prism. So now it's time to draw the water line, because we're going to be adding the things that floated on the top and sank on the bottom. We're going to just add the water line straight through the middle so that it leaves room for us to draw above and below. So I'm going to just add my water line here. And then now if I kept going straight, that would look strange because the tank actually goes this way. So I have to follow that same line with my water line. So I'm going to go up, and I'm kind of going at an angle to show that the tank does curve that way. All right, so it's time to add some words to this page. So at the top, we said we would take note of things that were going to float. So this is a great chance for you to practice those bubble letters so that when you are working on your visual journal projects in the future, you know how to do some great bubble letters. So we're going to add float, F-L, O, A, T. Okay, and the definition of the word float is stays on top of liquid. And then down here, we're going to put the word sink. So making a bubble letter S is actually not that easy. So give yourself some patience if it doesn't turn out great. S-I-N. K. And the definition of the word sink is goes to the bottom of a liquid, or in a liquid, goes to the bottom in a liquid. So now it's time for you to add the things that floated or sank in your particular picture. So I'm going to do mine and show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so here is some of the things that were on mine. I added a metal spoon and a coin for sink, and I gave them a label, and I added plastic fork and wooden block on top and gave them labels. So what I want you guys to do is finish with all of your items and give it some nice color and submit the picture to me. Good luck and happy Friday.